will be doing this guitar model based on Loft, planar, revolve, bi-rail, extrude, boundary, square, bevel plus. Let's get started. So firstly I would like to go to the top view. So in the top view I load the image plane, select guitar. So yeah, so I'm going to select my perspective view, and I'm going to move this down and then choose the attribute editor and then just make it a little bit dark. And when I'm moving it down, I'm moving it way down so that I can comfortably work around. So this is what I've got so far. So to start with, I am taking this shape. I'll be using CV curve tool in CV curve tool option here, and I just start tracing out this image. So maybe I'll put somewhere from here. I'll not literally trace this point because I need to match the outline of the geometry, not the curve. So curve exactly matching is not really necessary in this point, and I'm trying to keep less number of points so that so here this curve is opened here. So you see I've created a curve, and we got some vertex points all over. They are almost equally distributed, looks good, but this curve is open curve, so I need to fix that. So I go to edit curves and use a option called open and close tool. This will close the curve, and then we can create model out of it. So that I've got this curve closed, now I can use this tool called bevel plus, and then you get the geometry, and you see the model has come below the curve. And if you're expecting above the curve, you can do it just by selecting the curve. I'm selecting the curve, like I can do it from outliner and then select it. If not, just click and drag. You will be selecting the curve and the model. Hold Control and deselect the geometry, and you will be left with the curve. Go to the curves and then use this option called reverse direction. Then the model comes on the opposite side. So I don't want that, so I'll leave it like that. Now I'm going to select this model and then go to the attribute editor section, and then here you got outer style curve, and then you have convex out, which I'm going to use here to make this model round. You might have a lot of different types of bevels achieved, so I'm using convex out here. And then I'll choose the bevel plus and reduce the extrude distance, and then I get this nice rounded model. Okay, so there are a lot of polygons here because that open close has added a lot of points there. I'll ignore that. I'll assign new material, and I'm going to use a Fong material to this, and then choose a color. Black I don't choose as per the reference. I'll choose some other color here and make it glossier like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tracing the handle here. So let's see where this handle is ending up. Before that, I need to select the curve and then start select the points and then start moving that points so that So I'm just tracing out this whole shape here, and I'm tracing so that the geometry is meeting the edges. You can before again adjusting, you need to adjust the bevel width and depth also, because when you change that, the outline changes. So keep that point in mind. Okay, so I've got the object. Now I'm going to choose, for convenience, you can always make use of the layers. So I select the geometry, put it in a layer, and call this as geometry layer, and then select the curve, put it in a layer, and then choose a yellow color, and then that would be in the layer. So yeah, now I would create this handle. So I'll just choose create CV curve tool and then start tracing this point. So I'll just start tracing the whole outline of this model. Use these points very sensibly. Now I'm going to select this curves and then use open close curve and then choose the points like that, so that I've got the curve created. I will select this curve and again use the bevel plus tool. I'm going to select this curve and slightly move up, and then assign a new material form. So I'm going to select this bevel tool and then choose the bevel width and depth to 0, and you can always go to the polygon options and increase the subdivisions as you want it. Yeah, so that I've got this handle here. Now I can okay, I'll just select this and then just make it more dark color as per the reference. Now I just create this part. So for that we will be selecting this model, add it into the geometry layer and the curve in the curves layer. So as we got this curve here, which is curve number 2, I will be duplicating this curve by pressing Ctrl D, and then you got the curve 3, and this I'm going to remove from the layer so that this curve 3 is only visible for us. Now what I'm going to do is right click here on the curve, choose curve point component in this both areas, and then go to edit curves and then use this option called detach curve, so that I can now select the detached curve and delete it, and then I can use add points tool and then start adding this points till there. This points add points tool will have some problem that they will not be aligned in a straight line. I'm scaling them in straight line, then I'm using point snap option, select the handle and then snap it, switch off the point snap again, and then this curve is a open curve now. Now I'm going to choose curves and then choose the open close thing again. I'll choose the extrude tool, extrude, bevel plus tool, and then go to the bevel plus width options and extrude depth 0.02 or 0.01, so that I get a thin sheet of this. Now I'm selecting this curve, only the curve, and then choose the center pivot and then just move it up like that. So now I'm going to assign a new material, and then I'm going to choose the color there, so that I've got the next set of detail here. Now what we will do is we'll start placing this small ribs here. For that I'm going to choose a polygon cube, okay, and then I'm going to move it there, and then I'm going to scale it. I can't really use the duplicate special here because these are very unevenly placed. So I'll be putting that there on that. Now I press Ctrl D and move it. I choose a vertex point and just move it inside, and then press Ctrl D, press Ctrl D, Ctrl D, and then choose the vertex, press Ctrl D. The distance is keep on increasing, that's why duplicate special tool will not come into use. So I have to use Ctrl D and just move it manually. So you should see this all placed on the length of this whole handle. So the next thing I would like to do is this steel plate here, and I'll use the CV curve tool and just start placing around this point. Now there is an opening here. I'll be using open close curve, and this curve should get the model, and you see the extrusion is on the below. So I go to the curves and then use reverse curve direction, and extrusion happens on the other side. I'll use extrusion width and depth to low, and I should get this small bevel. Maybe I can use 0.005, 0.005, 0.005. So just a small plating. I'll assign a new material for this, and then choose like that. So just creating curves and applying bevel plus. So I got a very decent model so far. So I'll just start tracing the points as per the reference. So I've just tried to keep the shape as close as possible. Um, so yeah, now there is some detail here again, which I need to model. So for that I'll be using CV curve tool, or I can take a NURBS circle and choose the sections to somewhere. I'm going to scale this, and I want to put that there and choose the vertex points like that. and slightly scale this side because of that extra point on that side there. So I'll be moving this point a little bit above and then apply bevel plus and then choose the a small detail on the top. So I'll assign the existing blend shader to it so that it carries the same material there. Now I'm going to select that material, so that model, duplicate it and then duplicate it, and then here we need a rotation like that. So I've got this nice details on the top. I'll just save this scene as a copy. So we are trying to understand this image and adding that little details. So we have some small circular shapes here, so for that I'll not do much complications. I'll just take a polygon cylinder there and then choose a radius of 0.1 or 0.05, height 0.01, and then I will just go and place at that particular shape. So Control D, move it there, Control D, move it there, Control D, move it there. So yeah, that's the detail I've got. Now I'm just going to choose some other details here. So yeah, here there is a shape. So create a CV curve tool and then start placing and then modify center pivot, and then you should be able to see there's a curve and this is open, make it a close curve, curves open, yeah, open close curve, and this curve has got some overlapping problem that I could identify because I could see the curve is thick. So I'm selecting a vertex using left and right arrows, and then I'm start moving this point by point, so they should jump sequentially. So yeah, I've got this. So I'm selecting that curve and then use bevel plus for this, and then select that curve here, and then use reverse curve direction there, then select the extrusion there, and then choose the extrusion width to 0.02, and then reduce the bevel width. So I'm assigning an existing material blend shader. So I'm selecting the curve here. I'm just trying to get that gap matched, not with the reference, because this gap when is not matched. And then I've got this detail there. Okay, I'll just quickly create a polygon sphere, and then reduce the subdivision axis. Okay, and then scale it here. Right click on the model, you get the face component getting selected. Then I will select all the faces there and delete it. So you got this model, and then I'm going to put that at different places here, like that. Okay, so I'm going to scale this, and then make sure that it is a little bit on the ground. Press 3 to make it look smooth. So I'm going to scale this like that. You could add that little bit detail if you want. For that we need some modeling tools. I'm selecting the edge of the model, and double click, that will select the border. Hold shift and just drag it. So I'm going to just move it down, and then I'm going to scale it like that, so that I get a little bit detail of the screw. Even you could add that screw like detail there. As we are not much doing polygon modeling thing, so I'm not really doing any such details. I'm just trying to keep things very simple. Only one or two tools I'll use if to add the extra detail there. So I'm duplicating that. I'll just move it outside because it doesn't look fair if it is penetrating. Okay, so that's how this details can be added there. This one I'll just copy and then move it on the top of this press Ctrl D. Then Ctrl D again, then Ctrl D again. So yeah, I've got that nice rivets placed there. I select all that things and then assign the blend shader uh, on top. So in wireframe you could have a look on that detail. So there are some screws and hooks around. um, I don't know how to deal this. Let's try. Again, I have some limitations that I can't use because it's all about making our model with a surfaces menu and primitives only. Some of them are really demanding some options, but okay. Fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just come to the front view and then use a CV curve tool, and then use this tool called open close curve, and then select the point, and then so I've got this option here, modify center pivot. So the pivot point comes to the center. I'll put that here and then just insert it, Control D, and then scale it like that. Okay, now select both of them, apply bevel plus like that, and then I'm going to choose the bevel 0 0.001, 0 0.001, 0.001, 0 0.001, 0 0.005, or something like that. So assign existing blend shader there, and we got this nice splitting there. I'm going to use CV curve tool, and then just create that hook shape, and I'm choosing the center pivot, and then just put that hook here, and then one hook there. So I'll just select this tool called add points tool. So here the points will add from here. So I would like to go to reverse curve direction and then choose add points tool. And then the points will be added on the opposite side. This add points tool has got this problem of going sideways, so I'm going to select that modify center pivot and press Ctrl D. So I select both of them and then choose loft. So when we are lofting, this model is you know, the NURBS output, the NURBS output. But still, if I want to create a thickness out of it, we have a trick for that. But it's how NURBS model will work. So it's a little bit tedious, but okay, we'll try to do that way only. So there is an option in the surfaces, and the option should be offset surface. So when I choose that, I get a copy of the model. You could see there's offset here. This offset is 1. I'll put 0.001, and then you should see a very closed surface here. So I'm going to choose this minus 0.001 or minus 0.005, like that. So I get two surfaces here, and this surface I'm going to apply a reverse direction, so that it's all about normals. Okay, now select both of them and try to connect the geometry between them. How do you connect is, see, first I selected this model and I went on to do offset, and I got a model with the offset, and the offset value was minus 0.05. So these two are separate pieces. Now in a NURBS model, if I right click, you have a component called isopalm. So select that isopalm here, then hold shift, then select the isopalm of this one, and then you apply loft, then it will create geometry between them. There's a normal issue for this. Again, you need to choose the reverse direction. You see I'm creating the thickness there. So you can ask me that, okay, these are separate individual pieces, is that accepted? That is the problem with the NURBS model. NURBS is in patches only, so we can't deny that. This is how NURBS work. So I'm selecting isopalms of the both curves, and I'm applying loft. I'm creating the geometry here, and here right click isopalm, right click isopalm, and then a loft, and this surface normals are okay. Now isopalm, loft, normals are reverse, so I say reverse direction. Now you should select these all pieces here, which I have created here. Okay, and then first delete the construction history, and then group it, and then put the pivot point as the center pivot point, like that, and then you can make as many as copies you want if you want. So I'll be choosing the top view, and then switch the isolate button again, and then create the hooks. So I'll be choosing these two groups, group it again, and modify center pivot, and then create as many as hooks you want for your requirement. Then I'm just these hooks can be little bit front, these hooks can be little bit back also, because this is used to tighten the grip, the strings here. So when you are tightening it, you are making it tight little bit, then this will go back and forth, and this is all connected with a screw in this area. So I'm going to select okay, there are some curves which we have used, I'm deleting them. I'm selecting all these groups and just moving it little bit on the top. Maybe I can little bit rotate it if I want, like that. Okay, so that's the strings I just want it. I'm selecting all of them, and I'm assigning the blend material here. Okay, that's cool. Now I'm going to choose CV curve tool, and then I'll be choosing I'm just drawing a a shape, and then I'm going to just set the pivot point of this there, and then choose the curve, and then I'm going to move it up a little bit there. So the rotation axis is the Z axis for this, and then I'm using this revolve tool, and in rotation Z, and I'm applying this hook, which is going to be here, and then I'm going to even scale this one so that this will hold out that detail. Yeah, assign existing blend shader, so that I've got this hook nicely holding up. So I'll be putting the pivot point to the center, and I'm just duplicating it. Okay, I'm choosing the vertex points and then just moving it forward, because the screw not fully detailed screw with the nut. It is just as I told, I'm going to use whatever the tools initially we learn at surfaces menu. I'm using that. Maybe I can little bit scale it down, and whatever I do, I should do for all of them. Now when you add all that details, model looks really great. When it looks more happening, more detail, the more detail you got, the more nicer the model looks. Okay, I'm selecting the group by selecting one of the model in the group and then hitting up arrow key. That's it. So Control D. Some logics are missed in the model. I see that's how this hooks are holding. Now very similar hooks will be kept on the opposite side here. Again, I'm going to use the revolve tool. So I'm using the CV curve tool there. So I'm using this hook here, and then freeze the transformation, and then choose revolve tool. Black color, it means it is having reverse normal issue, and then I'm going to choose modify center pivot, and then just move it down a little bit, and then I'm going to scale this assign existing material blend, then I'll be putting that. Control D. Okay, we'll be connecting the hooks strings for that. So I'll be using a CV curve tool here, starting from this hook. This problem, this hook is here, So I'm just moving this uh, string to that point. Okay, so this will be again extruded. Now I will be duplicating this, modify. So I'm just pressing Control D. Then Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. So I'm just moving that point here and then start tracing that point. And then moving that so I've got this strings. Now I'm going to choose the so I'm just scaling this so I'm scaling this circle here for this thickness of the string. Maybe I can put it here. um, I just want it to be very much close and comfortable. So I'm just scaling this down here and I'm just putting very close to it. I select both of them and then choose extrude here. So in extrude, whenever you got a this is called profile curve and this is called the path curve. So I'm selecting this both of them and then you got the extrude in the surfaces menu. There you just choose the style to the tube and reset it to edge path, pivot point to component, orientation to profile normal. I'll switch all of them and then extrude it and then scale that curve nicely to match with the reference. It is 0.007. Why I'm noting down that number, I'll duplicate that and extrude it with the next curve, and this would be 0.006. Now I'll duplicate this and then select this one, apply extrude. This would be 0.005. Then duplicate it, 0.004, and then extrude, then duplicate it, 0.003, 0.002, like that. Now you get the strings. These strings are thick and then gradually becomes thin. That's something you should know about, and make sure that these hooks are uh, nicely lined up. So first I would put them lined up, and I'm not really caring the reference in this case because that is not possible. There is because I need to see they are nicely placed in 3D space. So yeah, that's how the strings are. Now I'm going to assign the blend shader again. Assigning the blend shader. Um, I'll be using this CV curve tool, and then I'm going to choose that here. I'm choosing center pivot, and I'm going to put it that here because there is a clamp which is holding it, holding the two strings like that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'll be duplicating these two things. Instead of getting the NURBS output, I'll be choosing polygon output and create thickness, which is very complex on the other side. I'll be using polygon output and then choosing quads and using some count. I'll apply extrude. Count may not give control how many lines this side and how many lines this side. Rather, I choose the general method instead of count method, and here I just set per span number of isoparams and then loft it, and you can now choose how many lines you want in the axis and length. So I'm using number of U spans, number of V spans here. I'm changing the numbers here. I'm selecting the faces here, and there is a tool called Extrude tool. Press Ctrl E and then you'll get the Extrude tool, and then just extrude it, and then you get this model. I know this model which we have done here. This is the model which I have got in pieces, and I did use lot of tools there, but this tool. So I'm assigning the blend to that. That's a small clamp which was holding, and here I'm going to choose a CV curve tool. So I'll just set this pivot point like that, and then apply revolve. Revolve is y-axis in this case, and then you got this nice model. Okay, assign existing blend shader, delete history, modify center pivot, and then just move it there. So yeah, now there is some shape here. This is a cylinder and that's a cube. I need to use bit complex polygon modeling technique, not complex, the polygon modeling technique. Then only that shape is possible, or we'll just keep it simple for this time, as I don't want to use much of polygon modeling tools. So what I do is I take a polygon cylinder, okay, and I'm going to rotate that cylinder like that. Choose the radius to 0.1, 0.05, and reduce the subdivisions there. And I'm going to scale this whole thing um, like that. I'm selecting the vertex by right clicking on it, select all the points, and then just scale it like that. That's one thing. I'm going to select the cube here. So I told you that I don't want to use much of complex uh, tools here. So I choose, especially I'm talking about polygon tools. I don't want to use any poly modeling tools here, which can be discussed later. I'm assigning the blend. We have an option called combine, which will make this as one piece of model. In mesh it is there called combine, and then I'm choosing the center pivot and then start placing it. Just rotate it. If anything, I'm seeing this one. So I'll just rotate it like that, and then you got that nice detail. There are some adjustment knobs. This is an electric guitar. There is a handle, and there is some detail here. So I'm not doing that details at this point. This is something which I could end up at this level, as you could see.